when I was in just started college, I had done musicals with Jill Jones. Remember Jill? You know, she's the beautiful girl. You know, I was dreaming when I wrote this, forgive me. You know, and she had been singing with Prince, and she just basically called me saying, "Hey, Prince is looking for an actress who can sing and dance for this movie he's doing." Um, and I told him about you, and I showed him your picture, and he really wants to meet you. I think you're perfect. And I was like, "Ooh, a movie! I want to do movies." And Prince, he's cool. And so I flew out to Minneapolis, to Minnesota, and yeah, I had a little adventure that night with Prince, but ultimately ended up turning down the movie, you know, even though I wanted to sit and make music with Prince, but I also was doing a show. I was very serious about, you know, my little black box show that he's like, well, why don't you get an understudy? I'm like, it's NYU. I don't have understudies. I was very like, oh no, I have to be there for, you know, which was really the right moral decision. And ultimately, I just didn't think Purple Rain was the right movie for me to come out in, for better or worse. That was my, I don't know. He wanted to call me something different. He wanted to rearrange me and make me a certain way, which he does. And he's, you know, he's kind of brilliant, was brilliant at it. But it, for me, I'm not, I don't like people telling me what to do. And I don't like being controlled, you know? So it didn't really work for me. Well, there's a lot of stories. I mean, like I said, this originally was going to be a Showgirls book, and then I decided against it because I'm like, I'm not that sort of, I don't know, it wasn't that interesting for me to write. Um, but I think Showgirls had a lot of, you know, when I was choosing alpha pussy stories, meaning like, you know, how to, you know, as a person and as a woman, especially, and as an artist, whatever, you know, you always have people, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Why don't you do this? And ultimately, as a, you know, musician or artist or actor, whatever, you have to make up your own mind about what it is you want to do. You know, I mean, for me, it was never like, I guess if my goal was like, I want to be a big, huge superstar, I want to make $1 zillion, I want to do this, then maybe my choices would have been like, okay, in order to get A, I've got to do B and C, and then I'll achieve that. But that was never really my goal. So I think it was more like, does this feel right for me? Why do I want to do this character? Oh, wow, I could explore this. That's so cool. And my tastes aren't as commercial as I think like you know, others are. And so doing Showgirls was like a big break, you know what I mean? And I was excited about it. Also, I loved Paul's films. I was into his like Spetters, you know, Turkish Delight. Like his Dutch films are like he's a very cool filmmaker. And then Esterhaus, I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. They just did Basic Instinct. They have strong women, and oh, this is interesting. And when I looked at the script, I'm like, ooh, it's like the Aphrodite Psyche myth. Like I'm playing, and I get to play Margot instead of Eve in this sort of situation, which I had never, like I was too old for Eve. I mean, too old for Nomi and too young for Crystal. So, you know, I had to lie a lot in to present because I thought I'm too young. They're not going to give me this part. And, you know, and then when he was like, no accents, I'm like, oh, I'm from Nashville. You know, I was a very serious actress. And when I got this part, it's like, I kind of always equate it to like, oh, I'm going to go see a very intense Wagner symphony, you know? And then you get to the set and it's like, wow, it's like some, you know, now like K-pop, colorful, you know, concert. And it was like, wait, what? Like, wait, what is this? That I really, in my own head, envisioned something much darker and more like his Turkish films. And so I was going very intense with it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm in a different movie than I thought this was going to be. And so then you have to, you know, adjust. I do think there's a metaphor for life in that, you know, we always imagine what things are, but then it's important just being present to see what things actually are. And not that you have to adjust your own code or your own, you know, what you still want to do something that's pure and that's, you know, meaningful to you. And, you know, there's a certain meaning, but, you know, if you're going in to sing like, you know, some beautiful ballad on a piano, and then you get there and it's like power crazy music and hardcore heavy metal music, you got to sing louder. You got to sing a different way, else it won't make sense. That's a weird analogy, but you know what I mean? That was an interesting lesson in that. And I just think there are showgirl stories because it was a very challenging movie for me to make and to maintain my own goal and my own integrity when I'm being, what do you do as an artist when, they're like, you have to do this. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not how I see it. And I don't want to do that. But then you have to learn, especially as the actress, you say, oh, yeah, yeah, sure. And then you just do what you want to do anyway. Unfortunately or fortunately, when you have a great, and listen, Paul's a very strong character, and I think he's a really good filmmaker. I could watch the movie now and appreciate it for what he was doing while I was doing it, and I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I mean, I think I use Bound just as it's more, like I said, all the stories, this isn't a biography. It's very curated stories that dealt with the theme of, you know, and I think Bound, the lesson to me in Bound was like, I had agents saying, you can't do this movie. It'll destroy your career. It was coming off of Showgirls. They're like, no, we got to put you in this. And I listened my own instincts. I said, guys, Showgirls isn't going to be what you think it is. Like, I need to get a movie. I wanted to be a very serious actress. And I realized, oh my God, unless I'm really good in this, I'm done. Like, hanging from a rope, looking down at the dancers. I talk about that story, just going, wow, I studied the classics. I was going to do like Medea and I wanted to, all these things. I'm like, how did I get here? And then I realized, wow, I better be really good in this. So I approached it like obviously a serious part, like I do everything. They're all serious, even if they're really funny, they're real people. Um, and so when I wanted to do Bound, because I just thought it was incredible, my agents were really against it for a lot of reasons. Mainly it's a lesbian, it's first time directors, blah, blah, blah. And I said, this is going to be a cool film. And these directors are really amazing. And I had to like leave my agents over it. They were like, we can't represent you if you're going to do this. You're ruining your career. And I'm like, well, I said, well, I guess it's my career to ruin, so I'm doing it. I believed in it and I'm really proud that I made that decision. So Bound, it wasn't, Jennifer was a dream to work with. I mean, I really had the greatest time working on that show. So it was really more the anecdote of how I got to do it. There was really no stories within it that I had to outfit pussy my way through, because it was really a great production to work on. I just wanted to do it. I believed in it. And just because my agents didn't think it was going to be good or they thought it would do something, I'm like, it's my career. I want to do this part. And kind of for the reasons when they were saying, oh, it'll ruin your career. Like, why will this ruin my career? I thought that was really interesting. Why? And they said, oh, because you're playing a lesbian. I'm like, why is that a problem? You have guys playing homosexual guys, gay guys. Why can't a girl play? And plus, the movie was never really about that to me. It was about trust and it was about, yeah, and she happened to be a lesbian. Like, to me, I was like, who cares? And because it was such a big deal, it kind of pissed me off. And I'm like, great, I'm doing it. Like, that's wrong. I just felt it was fundamentally wrong. Um, but I wouldn't have, it's not like I was brave. I really, in my gut, thought, I think this movie's going to be rad. I think this is going to be good. Like, when do I ever get to play a part like this? I'm getting to play the typical hero. Only guys get to play that. I want to be that part. That's cool.